Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
I don't care what the cost is.
Representative Steve Carter on why his proposed education bill is so important.
There's so much history here.
A look at the Castle on the Hill, 25 years after a total makeover.
I would have killed to be a part of Tiger Band just for one game.
A chance for high schoolers to play for a day with the Golden Band from Tigerland.
A lot of people would kill for that chance. Hi, everyone. I'm Andre Morrow.
And I'm Natasha Williams. Much more on our top stories in a moment. But first, on this week's edition of SWI, a look at stories making headlines across the state. The Trump administration has agreed to rewrite regulations to help thousands of Louisiana homeowners with damage from the 2016 floods get much needed federal aid. Republican Senators Bill Cassidy and John Kennedy say Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson confirmed details of the fix. HUD oversees the disaster assistance money. As many as 6,000 Louisiana residents who applied for loans from the Small Business Administration after the massive flooding 3 years ago have been unable to access the Restore Louisiana Disaster Grant Program. A duplication clause had prohibited a disaster loan and grant for the same damage. Vice President Mike Pence visited community and faith leaders near Opelousas, Louisiana, where 3 black churches were destroyed by an arsonist. The VP toured the remains of one of the churches on Friday and met with Republican U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy. Pence also met with Reverend Gerald Poussant and reverends from the other burned churches. 21-year-old Holden Matthews, the son of a local sheriff's deputy, has been charged with the March and April burnings. He's charged with arson. He pleaded not guilty and appeared in court Thursday for a bond hearing. A crowdfunding campaign for the church's restoration has raised more than $2.1 million. Could the Bonnie Carey Spillway be open for the second time in a single year? It seems the answer could be a definite maybe. The Bonnie Carey Spillway opens to relieve stress on levees protecting New Orleans when the Mississippi is flowing at 1.2 million cubic feet per second, fast enough to fill the Superdome in less than 2 minutes. The spillway was opened earlier this year because of heavy rain from the Mississippi River and the Ohio River valleys. The river flood levels reached a point where the Corps said it could put stress on New Orleans area flood walls. It closed on April 11th. Experts say they are closely monitoring the forecast and conditions across the Mississippi Valley for any changes. A Mississippi bank is buying a Louisiana bank and expanding its Texas footprint. Hancock Whitney Corporation of Gulfport announced Tuesday it will buy Mid-South Bancorp of Lafayette for $213 million in stock. Mid-South has been losing money and struggling with bad loans. Mid-South sold more stock, closed branches, and sold off some loans, but again posted a loss Tuesday, losing $6.6 million in the first quarter of the year. Adding Mid-South's $1.7 billion in assets will put Hancock Whitney over $30 billion in assets. A Houston-based furniture, appliance, and electronics retailer plans a new $5.7 million distribution center in Louisiana. Governor John Bel Edwards and Conn's Incorporated Chairman and CEO Norm Miller announced that the center will create 70 new jobs in Port Allen, with salaries averaging around $41,000 a year. Conn's Home Plus has 127 stores in 14 states. They include 2 in Baton Rouge and 4 in the New Orleans area. 2 more are set to open in the New Orleans suburbs this summer.
When lawmakers got to the Capitol early Monday, they began the week with purpose. And in the days since, they seemed focused on crafting legislation. But there's the ever-present question about just how much party politics is playing into their decision-making. Take a look at how some of the items played out.
State senators this week revived an Obamacare replacement bill. In it is a proposal that seeks to recreate federal health care protections for people with pre-existing conditions. Both Attorney General Jeff Landry and Insurance Commissioner Jim Donilon have teamed up in support. A competing proposal backed by Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards was killed by Republicans on a House Insurance Committee. Edwards called the vote pure Washington-style politics. The state Senate approved a plan to legalize sports betting at casinos and racetracks, with state voters having the final say on the subject. A vote of 24 to 15 sent the bill to the House. Senator Danny Martini, the Metairie Republican who authored the bill, argues Louisianans already are placing sports bets, which means the state is dealing with any negative social or economic impact without any revenue stream to alleviate problems. Baton Rouge Representative Steve Carter tried to beef up support for his proposed gas tax to fund highway construction work by scrapping a controversial provision, the provision that called for redirecting revenues to an infrastructure fund. He plans to offer the amendment to his House Bill 542 maybe as soon as next week. Lawmakers are considering a proposal aimed at restarting lethal injections in the state. The last execution in Louisiana happened almost a decade ago. This proposed legislation would shield information about a person or company that supplies drugs for an execution. The House Criminal Justice Committee advanced the bill Wednesday without objection, sending it to the House floor. Under a bill that took its first steps in the Senate, Louisiana would follow other conservative states in seeking to ban abortions if fetal heartbeat is detected. That's usually around the 6th week of pregnancy. A Senate committee voted to send the proposal to the full Senate. Louisiana would expand its Stand Your Ground law to protect people who use deadly force in churches under a bill heading to the full House. It got out of committee by a one-vote margin. Representative Beryl Amedee, a Republican from Houma, proposes to add churches, synagogues, mosques, and other places of worship to locations where residents can use deadly force if deemed necessary.
State Representative Steve Carter has sponsored a bill that will offer a voucher program for public school students in 3rd through 5th grades who are reading below their grade level on state test. The measure has support on both sides of the aisle, but is facing an uphill climb to pass because of how much it would cost. We talk with education advocates about the importance of such a plan and also talk with Carter and others about another big education-related measure, teacher pay raises. If you can read this, thank your teacher. It's a popular quote that speaks to a serious issue in the state of Louisiana. Many 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders aren't good readers. Standardized tests documenting they are reading well below their grade level.
What we decided to do would be to enable those youngsters with their families to hopefully have a $500 stipend that would enable them, whenever they can, to get either tutorial help or maybe did something from a computer standpoint that would bring them up to reading level.
Republican Representative Steve Carter of Baton Rouge is sponsoring House Bill 446, aimed at helping elementary school students improve their reading skills.
Because it's very important in order for you to continue to progress that you can read on grade level.
We believe it's a noble concept to supply additional resources to help those kids that are below reading levels.
Shane Riddle is the chief lobbyist for the Louisiana Association of Educators. He and others who support the bill point to test scores that show Louisiana students are way behind and continuing to drop even further. On last year's state report card, Louisiana got a D. And results from 2017 show Louisiana 4th graders lost ground on both reading and math since the last test. Their scores were already below the national average in 2015, and they fell even further. In fact, the state had the 2nd largest drop in the country, and a smaller percentage of students were proficient. In reading, the study said 26% tested proficient, down from 29% in 2015. Both Carter and Riddle say although programs like this are badly needed, so many students need them, the cost to fund it could stop many lawmakers from supporting it.
The problem, I think, is how do you pay for it, right? I mean, I believe the bill right now takes funds directly from the State General Fund Direct, which is called SGF. We believe that there may be better ways to fund this initiative, whether it be through the Minimum Foundation Program, through maybe high-cost services line item in the MFP, or funding it through what's called the 8G program.
We may have to amend it to have is it a pilot program possibly or whatever it might be. But we want to bring the bill as it is to make a point that we need to do a better job to ensure that our youngsters can get on reading level within their grade.
Carter says despite the uphill battle to get his bill passed, he says you can't put a price on the importance of a good education.
To assist a youngster is never too costly, in my opinion. We got to do what we have to do that's necessary to ensure that all these youngsters have a chance to continue to progress, to get a high school diploma, and hopefully either go through the community college system or to go on to college. So we think this is very important. We will hear the bill, and hopefully we'll be able to get in the right posture where we can pass it and attempt to at least help some youngsters. I can't guarantee I can take care of all of them, but find some way where we can hit a happy medium to get the dollars that are necessary to take care of those families and those youngsters.
We've also included in the MFP formula, or Bessie has, is the teacher pay raise. That's about $100 million. And that teacher pay raise is $1,000 for each certificated teacher in the state and $500 for support personnel.
Senator Blade Morris spoke at this week's press club about Governor John Bel Edwards' teacher pay raise proposal, now being studied by Bessie, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education.
I think, though, that the education community, teachers included, and all of the districts believe that the 1.375 is extremely important. And they think we're going forward with a plan or with a program, and this is the first step.
The plan in front of Bessie, proposed by the Senate Education Committee right now, though, has removed what added up to a $39 million or 1.375 increase to the districts.
We all know, I think everyone in this room, every one of my constituents that I talk to, and all of the legislatures realize that $1,000 and a $500 pay raise is not a lot of money by the time taxes and whatnot are taken out over a period of a year. We know it's not enough. Does it get us up in this southern regional average for teachers? It certainly keeps us from falling down.
Teachers we talk to say it's long overdue. They haven't had a pay raise in 10 years, and their salaries are among the lowest in all 50 states. They say it's time the state made education a priority. And lobbyist Shane Riddle agrees.
There is a saying that the students' learning conditions are the teachers' working conditions, right? And vice versa. And so the better working conditions you can provide to the teachers in the classroom and the staff that support them is very vital to the learning conditions of the students. I mean, it goes hand in hand. And over the years, I believe that, we have not done that. The per pupil funding has not increased in over 10 to 11 years. And so I think that, since the state is in a position now where we have a surplus, I think that we need to put a priority on public education and make sure that we fund the classroom and that we raise the pay of teachers and support professionals in the school system.
Now, Bessie is meeting on May 7th to decide what they're going to do. Bessie can do nothing and send it back to the House and the Senate to decide, or accept recommendations by both houses and the Education Committee, or make their own recommendations.
The old state capitol in Baton Rouge is in the midst of a 25th anniversary celebration. That's 25 years since a massive renovation brought the crumbling palace back to life. It opened in 1852 as our state house, but in 1931, when Huey Long's Capitol replaced it, the vision of what it should be became murky. And 60 years later, it reached a point where it was almost abandoned. Tell me about where we are right now, this space.
This is one of the most magnificent spaces in the building, I think, and one of the most historic spaces. This was the House Chamber. There's so much history here. This is the room where the original Louisiana lottery was passed in 1898, I believe. It is the lottery, by the way, historically, that led to a ban on lotteries throughout the country for many years, but it took place here. This is the room where Louisiana seceded from the Union during the Civil War. The Secessionist Convention took place right here. There are old paintings of that.
But even with all that history, the old state capitol stood on the brink of ruin by the late 1980s. It wasn't even opened, and its doors were unlocked for the rarest of occasions. Today, the majestic capitol is on a 25-year run of unparalleled success, so it's easy to understand why this celebration of a renovation is such a big deal.
This building that we see in all its beauty today literally was falling down.
Bob Courtney was Assistant Secretary of State under the late Fox McKithen. By 1990, he was very concerned about the bleak future of this castle on the hill.
The building was closed to the public. The roof leaked everywhere. Water was coming in through the walls because the exterior surface is actually brick covered with plaster. And this brick was porous, so there was no humidity control, there was no air conditioning inside. And so it was literally rotting from the ground up and just kind of falling apart from the ceiling down.
So he suggested that the Capitol be transferred to the Secretary of State's office and its care. At the time, the State Museum System had control of it, but their attention was elsewhere. Two major events kept any revival project on the far back burner. One, there was a budget crisis. And two, when fire swept through the Cabildo in New Orleans, the sole focus of museum insiders was on it. The Cabildo was and is the pièce de résistance. It had long been home of the Louisiana State Museum. The old state capitol was more like a third cousin twice removed.
And nothing was being done here. And so there was talk of transferring this building to the city of Baton Rouge. And I just thought, a state capitol building is a treasure that belongs to the state, not to one city.
It took a lot of politicking and a lot of convincing, but Courtney and his group stood their ground, and he says they had a lot of help.
We had two valiant local legislators who fought with us in the House and Senate. Raymond Jetson in the House sponsored the bill, and Larry Bankston in the Senate. We got it passed. Buddy Roemer signed it, and then we had to figure out what to do with this place.
A $6 million check from the state went to restore the building itself, the brick and mortar. And money raised privately ensured that the exhibits would be ones that would keep people coming back. The exhibits remained vibrant, and the spectacular stained glass dome remains the #1 photo op for one of the top tourist attractions in the state.
And the reason we're celebrating it, Andre, is because it was a monumental feat. People just really don't realize.
Mary DeRusso oversees the operations of the old state capitol as well as other properties. She says the timing of things just worked out to revive the place when it was at its lowest point.
Nobody was really taking a keen interest in it, which is why Bob Courtney and Fox McKithen wanted to take this building over and make it part of the Secretary of State's office, which we think is entirely appropriate. We're so dedicated to Louisiana politics and history, and we spend all day, every day talking to those hundreds of school kids that you see and the adults who come about the importance of democracy and voting and being an active and engaged citizen. So much painstaking work went into this restoration, and our architects went back and researched the plans from the 1880s. The way you see the building now is as close as it can possibly be to that 1880 look.
We had a vision. I think what makes me happy is that vision turned out to be correct. And it's not because of what we did, not because of what Fox McKithen did. Fox McKithen had the overall vision and determination to make this happen. But it is the wonder that succeeding secretaries of state have taken this building seriously as well and have continued to protect it and find the money to keep it operational. It's important to remember our history, and it's important to preserve our history and to protect things like this.
A permanent exhibit that commemorates the 25 years since the restoration opened in late February and continues to draw crowds. It's called Castle on the River, the Evolution of Louisiana's Old State Capitol. And for more stories on the history of our state house that overlooks the Mississippi, you can check out our Louisiana Digital Media Archives. Well, this year, LSU's Golden Band from Tigerland celebrates 126 years of making music and thrilling crowds at football games. Through all those years, any good Tiger fan knows the band's traditions.
But one of its more recent traditions actually takes place in the spring for the Purple and Gold scrimmage game. LPB's Charles Jones has that report.
Every fall, when the Fighting Tigers of LSU take the field in Baton Rouge, 100,000 plus college football fans from across the country storm to the electric atmosphere of Tiger Stadium. It isn't until a certain band plays a certain four-note salute that it truly becomes Saturday night in Death Valley. The Golden Band from Tigerland has been playing tunes and getting the crowd ecstatic for 125 years and has quickly become a staple of not just LSU football, but the state of Louisiana as a whole.
Tiger Band is it's kind of a symbol, like an icon for for our entire state. Really, it not only represents LSU and the wonderful things that LSU has to offer, but people live and breathe everything that is LSU football, and Tiger Band is an integral part of that.
To this program and to this state, this band, that's the soundtrack of Tiger Stadium. Like, people have a visceral reaction, not a normal reaction, a visceral reaction when we play certain tunes.
For a band steeped in tradition, one recent trend has a lot of people talking, that being the Spend a Day with Tiger Band for the LSU Purple vs. Gold spring game in April.
I remember when I was going through high school, they didn't have something like this. I would have killed to be a part of Tiger Band just for one game. Even if it's the spring game, they get to be a part of everything we do, all the music, all the visuals. They get to really experience what it's like to be a Tiger Band member musically and also have fun in the stands.
The spring game allows 10th through 12th graders from across the United States to learn school songs, participate in the different dances done by each section, and march with a historic band into the cathedral of college football.
It's just great for them to actually get to talk to a member and see them, okay, they are in uniform when I see them, but they're just a great, well-rounded person to be around, and that any kid can attain that.
How we do certain things has to be at our certain standard, and we only have X amount of time, whereas with Tiger Band, we spend all the preseason camp work on those things. Here it's 2 hours, bam, you're on TV.
This event is more than a recruiting tool. It's a chance for high schoolers to be an honorary member of Tiger Band for a day and get just a taste of one of the greatest traditions in college sports.
You put any high school kid in Tiger Stadium contributing to the action, I think they're pretty much sold with what we do.
One of our former coaches, who's now at Alabama, Nick Saban, there was a rain delay, and they had the teams inside, and they said the band cannot perform pregame. So ESPN comes down and tells them, all right, we're ready for y'all to run out. And he was like, what's going on? Like, we need you to run out. No, I don't hear the band on the field. Oh, they can't go on the field because of the rain delay. Until the band gets on the field, this team will stay in the locker room.
Maybe what more can you ask for? Representing LSU, being with your friends, living your passion, playing music. There's nothing better than that.
This also serves as a passing of the torch for the current band members, as the new student leadership, including the drum major, get their first chance to lead their sections to a successful performance.
But once we get to that spring game, it's a transition because there's training of all these players, and so the leaders for the next year, this is their first chance to practice teaching and to realize, wow, I have a lot of work to do. and it's a good way of kind of figuring out how to teach for the season that's about to come up and getting their feet wet in an environment that's not so competitive and not so cutthroat, like band camp.
I think it's twofold in those regards, to kind of rekindle that spirit for that returning member, for section leaders to kind of start learning and kind of breaking those barriers and figuring those things out, and to kind of spearhead excitement before we get into the next semester. So it's kind of the perfect time of let's kind of get back into the swing of things before we get full blown rolling come August.
At the end of the day, Tiger Band is more than just a tradition. It's a family.
One of our new campaigns is Fierce for the Future. I'm fierce for having a sense of family in every part of the university.
You come to Tiger Band Camp, which is 2 weeks before school starts, and you already have 324 friends that are there for you and will help you out, even around campus.
It's special, it's unique, it's one in a million, but that's what makes LSU LSU.
We really want to make sure we offer a place for dancers and musicians alike who just want to be a part of a family.
For Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Charles Jones.
Wow. Now you can catch Tiger Band marching down Victory Hill and into Tiger Stadium August 31st in the Tigers season opener with Georgia Southern.
If they don't send chills down your spine, you're not alive. That's our show for this week, everyone. Remember, you can watch LPB on demand on your phone or tablet with our LPB Anywhere app.
The download is free from your app store. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows and other Louisiana programs you've come to love over the years. And please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
For all of us at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow.
And I'm Natasha Williams.
Thanks for watching. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.